I'm going to be making two different kind of bookmarks, and so if you'd like to, you can stick around and kind of watch how to do them. These are just simple DIY that you can do to add some fun when you are reading. If you're like me and you read, you just grab whatever's around you for a bookmark, or unfortunately you don't use anything for a bookmark and then you have to find your place again. And that's bad. So we're going to learn how to create some fun DIY bookmarks that help you remember to keep your page where you're at, but also are just cute and add to your reading. All right. So the first one I'm going to show you is going to be really, really simple. And I actually am going to use pre-cut pages to do this. I have 6x6 here, and I've got lots of different options that I can choose from, but you can really use whatever size you want as long as it is a square. So I'm going to pick 3 different pages out that I would like. And you can have patterned paper, you can have plain paper. Let's see. Really whatever you would like here. Let's go with, Shouldn't take too long to choose, right? Okay. Yeah, let's go with the blue one here. Okay, so I'm going to be making 3 different bookmarks with this style. And so once again, you're going to need a square piece of paper. And I have these already pre-cut, which makes it really fun. If you don't, you just have to cut down a piece of paper. I realized I didn't share with you my other screen here. So this is what I have now. This is what I meant to show you with regards to having a set of papers that is already cut out for me. This is kind of like scrapbook paper. And these are already cut to 6 inches by 6 inches. So that makes it really, really nice and easy. So I've got a couple different colors here that I chose. And we're going to start with this one here. And we are going to flip it over to where you have the pattern on the reverse side. So step 1, we're just going to turn it, make it look like a diamond. And then we're going to connect our 2 corners together. Of course, trying to line it up as best we can with our corners. And then we're just going to go ahead and crease down below. Okay, same thing with these 2 corners. We're going to take them up here to the top. And these are really simple. I mean, all in all, it might take you a couple minutes to fold this and then you're done. Now you can add more to it at the end and kind of go as fancy as you like. But if you're making just a super simple one, it really just takes you about 2 minutes and you're already done. Okay, so we've creased it really, really well on the bottom. So we're going to open that back up. And so now we have 2 lines here that are creased. And so what we're going to do is take just the top piece of paper. I'm going to leave 1/2 of it down there. And I'm going to fold this to this corner here. Making sure I don't cross. Go up there. Make a straight line across. Okay, like so. Then I'm going to take this flap and we're going to actually tuck it under what we have already. Tucking it as far as I can go and making sure that I get that really good crease. Now I'm kind of wondering why my phone camera view changed here. So let's see if we can't zoom back in a little bit. This is the first time I'm using this program like this. So, definitely expecting hiccups all along the way. Okay, here we go. Okay, we've tucked in that one side. We're going to do the same thing to the other side. Flip that over and tuck that in as far as we can go. Trying to make sure, especially the corner sides are really tucked in. It kind of gets a little tricky. Okay, lay it flat and crease. And okay, there we go. Simple as can be. We've got a corner bookmark, and I'll kind of show you what this looks like on the book. But we're going to do a couple things to these other ones. So I'm going to be really quick on these ones and kind of show you again how we folded that. So we flipped it over, diamond to diamond, pick our corner, crease really well, take these two corners, same thing, back up to the top, crease that, back up to the top again, alright, open up our flap, remember, only bring the top one down, not the bottom one. That's a key. Super important not to bring them both down, just the top. Okay, take this over, tuck it in. Once again, it can get a little tricky as you're kind of dealing with a lot of paper on this tuck here. Okay, same thing with the other side. Really make sure we tuck him down in there. And we're gonna crease. And just like so, we've made another one. All right, I'm gonna make one more. Once again, I'm gonna show you a couple things you can add to this when you're done. Let's do it one more time. This time though, I actually want the design on the inside of my bookmark. So as you can see, you have the design on the outside here. This time I want the white on the outside. So I'm gonna pretend like this is the back of my paper. And so I'm gonna have it this way and flip this way. Turn it like a diamond, put your corners together, bring these two corners to this one here, right up there, crease really well. Okay, open her back up, and remember we're only taking the top one down, not the bottom one. And we're going to crease that down to the middle there. Alright, and last step, we're going to tuck both sides. I learned this a couple years ago, and you know, I haven't done it enough. Like I said, I'm the reader who doesn't have a bookmark handy. And that could be a problem easily avoided. Okay, make sure we tuck that in again really, really well. Crease like so. Okay, so on this one, as you can see, I decided to have the white on the outside, and that was on purpose, and I'll show you in that just a second. Okay, so we have 3 little bookmarks here. Once again, I'll put them on a book here shortly. But now, so you can have this as is, done, great, or you can do a little bit more to just kind of add to your design. So I'm going to leave this one as is. It's kind of got a lot of pattern going on there, so we're going to leave him as is. This one we're going to take and we're going to do just some doodles with some markers. So I have some acrylic markers here, so I'm going to go ahead and just open this up here. Okay, so I've got lots of different colors going on here, and I'm just gonna do, let's see, just some doodles, some fun designs to add to the white part of this bookmark. So I am just doodling on the top of this one, and there's so much you can do with these. You can do one that's completely white and add all kinds of things. whether you're going to add an actual sketch, just some doodles, maybe a quote, even if it's from maybe a favorite book. I taught this once at a Bible camp with some younger kids. I guess they're about elementary age, and we used them as Bible bookmarks. And so I taught them this lesson, how to make them, and actually it was kind of a lot of fun because we did little animals with them and such. And then we went ahead and we wrote Bible verses on them, since we were going to be using them as Bible bookmarks. And so we just put little verses on there, little passages they were going to work on memorizing, things like that. Okay. I notice my phone camera keeps going kind of in and out, so we are definitely going to have to work on making sure that doesn't happen in the future. Okay, we're reconnected. There we go. I don't know if that's my internet or what that is, but we're gonna have to learn how not to do that. Okay, so I just had a lot of doodles on this one, and then I'm actually going to get a really small marker, and let's put something on top. Let's write something on top here. Let's see. I'm going to do some fancy lettering. Well, fancy-ish. I don't actually do that much fancy lettering. Let's see what we can add here. And I always kind of like to do like a hybrid between cursive and print. It's just kind of my style, I guess. You can always add kind of extra things whenever you're writing, not just the words, little lines and little doodles, dots, just to kind of add more variety to it. And then on this side, let's add a couple more. This is a thin marker I had, so I had an acrylic marker that I made the yellow or goldish doodles with. I'm just kind of going to go over this one. And once again, this is totally optional. We have our first bookmark over here that we just left completely as is, and that's super awesome when you have a patterned paper because it's ready to go. And you don't even have to do anything else to it. But if you kind of want to, so here on this one I have a little cute saying on it. It says, just one more chapter. So especially if you're making these kind of to give away, you can add something that's real personal to something that they like. All right, so we've got one here, one we doodled on. And this last one here, let's do something even a little bit more creative. So this is kind of something that I did with the camp kids. We did little animals, and so there's so many different ways you can do this. So I'm gonna take this, let me grab my white piece of paper over here that I left so far away. Okay. And my scissors. So we're going to change this one into a cute little animal. So I've got an extra piece of paper here, and I'm going to go ahead and draw what I would like on here. I'm going to do this one upside down, but I'll show you kind of how that works later. So I'm going to put this white piece of paper and kind of outline what I want to cut out. And let's cut out the bottom two here. We'll go ahead and get the right size. Okay, so you could let me know if you're watching this, if you can guess what animal that I am going to create with this bookmark. Hopefully it becomes obvious, because that's the point, right? You don't want people guessing, oh, what exactly is that? So And once again, this is a really great craft for kids. I think it's great for anyone really, but they can kind of get interested in learning how to create these bookmarks. And it can be as simple or as complex as you really want it to be. And so that's kind of the beauty of this type of a project. All right, we can get rid of some of these here. So I'm going to use this little white piece of paper and I am going to stick it on to here like this, okay? So let me go ahead and get my glue stick. Kind of should have had it ready to go. Alright, so I got my glue stick out. I'm gonna go ahead and glue on this white piece. So I'm gonna go ahead and stick it on. Let me actually add a little bit more glue there to the bottom here. And once again, we're just adding a little bit more to this same type of bookmark design to make it fun. Press that down on there real good. I'm not usually that good with glue, especially that school glue that you can kind of just get real gloppy with, because gloppy is a word. Okay, so we pressed him down there. Hopefully he stays on there. If not, I'll have to add a little bit more glue. But we're making an animal with this one, so I'm going to go ahead and get out my markers here. Let's go with a black and a pink. I love adding cute little cheeks to some illustrations and things that I like to paint and draw. Okay, so we're just gonna add some pink there for a cheek on one side. And the same thing on the other side. All right. Okay, and let's go ahead and add some other features here. We're going to make his nose right up here, and his eyes, just cute little marks. You can go as simple as you want with this. You really don't have to go, you know, super detailed. You can if you'd like to, but don't overthink it either. Sometimes even just the simplest type of design is super pretty, super nice. So I'm not really going to worry about layering him too much. We're just going to call him good. Kind of give him a better curve up there. All right, can you tell what it is yet? I got to add some ears, so if you can't tell what he is yet, that's okay. Let's see, I'm gonna just put a couple dots up here. Okay. So let me add some ears to this little guy. We're going to go ahead, let me see if I happen to have another one of that exact same, oh I do. Let's go ahead and get out another square so we can use the same construction paper. And I'm just going to eyeball this versus drawing it out. So let's see if we can cut this out kind of with just eyeballing it. Alright. I always love looking up tutorials or little DIY ideas, because you can buy a lot of things, especially with regards to gifts and things of that nature. But sometimes there's just something special about making something. And Kind of just shows you went the extra mile. It's not always practical, you can't always do it. But when you can, I would certainly try to make the effort. And this guy does not want to come out. So we're going to have to probably trim him down a little there. Okay. So we've got one here, one here. One's a little bit smaller than the other. Let's see if we can't match this up a little bit here. We're going to trim this guy down just so he's about the same size as the other one. Okay, so then we're going to take these. I'm going to marker in the middle just a little bit. Actually, let's choose a darker color. Or just different, so it'll pop a little bit better. Okay, I'm doing ears, so I am just going to kind of color in the middle of his ear there to give it a little bit of design. So same thing on that side. Alright, and we are going to glue these, not to the top of this, kind of to make it as pretty as we can. We're going to actually glue it underneath here. So I'm going to take my glue out again. Just give some glue on the bottom. And I'm going to go all the way to the side with this one. And kind of press it down in there. Alright, do the same thing with the other one. Just going to glue the bottom of the front of my ear. I know you might be used to like gluing the back of projects, but you don't want to do that this time. You want to glue the front. We're going to push him down pretty good. Okay. Does it look like anything? It's supposed to be a cute, adorable little box. So there's so many different things that you can do with these. You can make virtually any animal out of these little designed here. So I have these 3 bookmarks that we made with kind of our origami folding one. We had a pattern one we just left plain, which is totally an option. We had one where we went white on the outside, and then we did some doodles, and I put a little quote on there. And then you can even get really creative and do some sort of design like this. Alright, so I'm going to set these aside for just a moment, and I'm going to show you one other way that you can DIY a bookmark. Now there's so many different ways, but here's one other way we're going to do that. I have pre-cut out with some versatile heavyweight paper these little bookmarks here. I have a couple, and they are 8 inches long and 2 inches thick to use as bookmarks. Now you can cut them out at whatever size you like. You might have smaller books and you might want a smaller bookmark, or you might even want something that's a lot wider and kind of more room to decorate. But this is the size I used, 8 inches by 2 inches there at the top. Okay, so we're going to also just do super simple DIY, nothing super crazy that you can't do. So here we go. We're going to use our acrylic markers once again. You can paint this with with watercolor or acrylic, but I went ahead and just used my acrylic markers. So I'm going to grab, let's choose 3 different colors that we're going to use the whole time. Let's go. Alright, so I've got a pink. Oh, my camera's a little bit blurry. It's connecting again. Okay, here we go. I got a pink marker and a blue marker and a yellow marker. Now that I picked them all up, it kind of is like an Easter theme. So here we go. So I'm just going to go ahead and put some dots in a few different places on my bookmark here. And so I'm going to do different sizes as well. So I've got a smaller one there, so let's go a little bit bigger. And once again, there's no real right or wrong with the colors you choose or the size of the circles I'm making right now, or even really the perfection of the circles. You know, if you've got wonky circles, that's totally fine. So I'm going to do a couple more here. I might do maybe 4 or so in each color. Just kind of move up and down the bookmark so we've got them in different places. And hopefully you can hear me, but I'm gonna wait a minute for my phone to connect again. That's such a bummer that it kind of keeps going in and out. We're gonna have to do some test lives and see if we can't figure out how to fix that. Still hasn't reconnected, so that's kind of a bummer. Okay, I'm gonna, hopefully that reconnects. But once again, I'll go ahead and show these 3 bookmarks. So we had just the plain pattern one, and this one here, and my little brother just walked into my bedroom. Even though there's a sign at the door, not to. Okay.
I couldn't read it. I didn't see it.
So this one's plain. We didn't do anything with it. Just a pattern bookmark here. This one we had the white on the outside, and that way we could doodle on it and we could put a quote or whatever else that we want. And then this one we turned into a cute, adorable little box. And you can do so many different little cartoons and things of that nature, or animals with this design. Well, folks, it looks like my phone camera view doesn't want to reconnect, which is such a bummer. I wanted to show you guys this other DIY with the bookmarks, but it gets a little tricky with this camera view. It was kind of nice to have one that showed my hands while I was working. Okay, so we're gonna try this again, and if it works, it works. If it's not, you know, we'll see what happens. So we're reconnected here, and so we've got our bubble dots on this one, right? We have 3 colors we're working with. I chose pink, yellow, and blue. Okay, so we're just gonna continue to add some dots in random places and in random sizes as you please. One thing that's also fun about crafting and doing some DIYs is doing it with other people. And you might think that you're not like super crafty or, you know, my projects might not turn out very well or professional, or oh my, I would never give that away. But that's okay. Sometimes when you're doing art, it's not necessarily art or crafts or things of that nature. It's not necessarily to give away always, or to make sure it's 100%, you know, fantastic the whole time. Sometimes you do art just to be able to create together with other people, or, you know, you can use crafting as just a way to relax. And so you don't always have to worry about perfection. Perfection, especially in my experience, perfection isn't even necessarily something I can achieve. It's something that's elusive, and I'm never necessarily able to attain perfection. But that's okay. That's not what art is necessarily for. It is for crafting and creating and being able to even spend time with other people when you do DIYs and craft projects together. You know, some people use it for relaxation, different things. And so you don't want to ever be too hard on yourself. And that's kind of, you know, I got to talk to myself about that. You just got to go for it. And sometimes it's nice to try little projects like this that don't require much and are just kind of fun ways to get out there and try something new. Okay, so with my little dots here, and you can do so many different designs, I'm just going to go ahead and go over with a color similar to the one that's already down and just do some of these little kind of added half swirls, if you will, on the side. Just add a little bit of technique. I often like to do that with the color white with a lot of different projects that I work on. And not just for markering and such, but for painting too. So as you can see, I have my original blue color there, and I added like another blue color with like a little just line to kind of add more to it. So I'm just doing that right now. And once again, something like this, you can go as complex or as simple as you like. There are no real rules. You just get to enjoy creating. Okay. I think that might be all I kind of want to add in that color. So now I'm going to take a thinner marker. You can use a marker or a pen or kind of anything you have like that. I'm going to start with this one and see how it is. So this is kind of like just my background, and then we're going to just add some really simple designs on top. So I'm going to add kind of like a border all the way around. I'm not going to worry about how perfect it is. Not going to worry about how straight the lines are. I'm just going to kind of, actually I'll kind of even make it wavy on purpose. So I'm going to start here, and I didn't measure, I didn't really think it through. I'm just going to go in a semi-straight but totally wavy line and create a border, kind of. Just adding more detail to this bookmark. I'm actually really excited to see these in books. Once again, if you're kind of just joining in, I've talked about how I use all kinds of different things for bookmarks when I can create my own. Or I don't have bookmarks when I need them. So here we go. I'll create these. So now I'm going to add some doodles on the inside. No rhyme or reason. And let's just see. We're just going to go over top of, the designs that you already had in the background. Let's do a flower design up the middle. So here you can just kind of add as many doodles as you like, or as few as you like. And just kind of see what you like. That's why it's kind of neat to try projects like this, because you just kind of get to experiment. Sometimes experiments are good, sometimes not so much, but that's all right. The joy of the journey. I actually haven't been painting that long, and so I'm still very simple with a lot of my designs. Not necessarily that they're really basic all the time, but they are very simple, or I even still rely heavily on the idea of kind of background shapes and breaking my piece down into smaller ideas and things that I can paint before really seeing the big picture. But wherever your expertise is with regards to crafting and things like that, there really is no wrong place to start. Whether you craft all the time, whether it's something totally new to you, just gotta get out there and try it. I usually use acrylic when I paint. I don't usually sketch too much or things of that nature. I usually use acrylic paint, and then I've started to get into acrylic markers for little projects like these. But I'm told oil is a really good medium as well. Actually, I'm told oil is the best medium. So I may learn how to get in that sooner or later, but I'm kind of still trying to learn how to paint with acrylic. So one medium at a time, but we'll see. Maybe I'll learn that too. But I enjoy taking the time to just kind of do small little projects like this. It's always nice to sit down and do something that can be accomplished within one setting. Especially if that's only in like 20 minutes. It just kind of helps, especially when you're kind of unsure about painting, or you don't have that let's get 'em attitude. Alright, I'm going to add a few more doodles up in here, and this one is just about done. Alright, so this is kind of what I had finished with here. Got lots of different things going on. No real rhyme or reason on some of them, but that's kind of it. So let's pull out another one here. This one I'm going to have on the bottom. I want to design like one of those cute little characters of some kind, so I think I'm going to do a frog. So let's give ourselves some type of background though. We're not even going to super be concerned with it. Let's just kind of go all over and see what happens. So that's kind of fun when you do little projects like this. You don't really have to be too concerned about anything. There's no expectations. There's no pressure. Just art. and I already love this. Okay, so we made a super simple background. So there we have that. I love that. we could leave it just like that. No, we're gonna add to it. So I'm gonna do a frog. I wanted to try one with just doodling like a cute little character on the bottom. So let's go ahead and do that. We're gonna do, and maybe I should have left the bottom probably blank. That way you don't have to like super layer, but that's okay. We are just gonna go with what we have. So I like to look at kind of objects, like I said before, and kind of break them down. So this is super, super simple. So I'm kind of just working with really simple shapes and curved lines, and then we're going to fill it in. And so if you're like, oh, I don't know if I could ever do that. I mean, this is essentially the essence of a simple frog. And it's really, really simple. And so you don't have to ever think you can't, you know, if you think you can't, find a way you can. That's the joy of art. So you've got super intricate designs, and then you've got cute, adorable little frogs like this that I'm already super excited for. And like I said, that background took like 5 seconds. And I kind of love it. Alright, this isn't like a strict green for maybe a frog. It's kind of more like a bluish green, but it's a really pretty color. So that's also kind of fun when you're meddling with some just art and experiments and things, using colors that quote unquote don't make sense. So, you know, even if I did this frog in pink right now or something that's just completely different, sometimes it's kind of fun to just experiment with that and see what happens. I painted a ocean painting recently for a girl's Sweet 16, and her theme for her Sweet 16 was pink. Like, everything was pink. All the guests that came, all of them wore pink, and all the decorations, and it was super, super cute. So I knew her theme was pink, and of course that's her favorite color, and so I wanted to paint her this ocean painting for her birthday. And so that was my theme, pink, for my ocean painting. And I had never done anything like that before. I think that was probably the first time that I had painted something completely, you know, kind of in my mind, not correct, if you will, as far as colors and things like that. But I loved it, and she loved it. I mean, it was super, super cool. So my ocean waves, you know, my sky, everything was heavy on the pink. I'm not even sure if my ocean had any blue in it. But it looked like an ocean wave. And it was kind of, I had some purple accents and, of course, some white for the foam and such. Turned out really well. So sometimes it's fun to just kind of experiment and see what happens. Okay, so you can kind of, I don't know if you can kind of tell there, on my bottom, you can see the blue background poking through. So I kind of was thinking as I was rushing through that background, maybe we should have stopped at the bottom knowing I was going to do this. So probably for future reference, if I was going to do that background again like that, I probably wouldn't go all the way to the bottom, just to make sure that my design doesn't get, you know, kind of muddled. It didn't really show through with the green because green is dark, but white is really, really hard to cover up dark colors sometimes. White and especially yellow. Yellow might even be worse. That looks a little better. We'll just kind of leave him with a little bit of blue sticking through. It'll be fine. Yellow is especially difficult to paint on top of something and not have the object underneath come through. I didn't know that for a really long time when I was first learning how to paint. I was just painting myself and kind of teaching myself, and so I would put on so many layers of yellow to, you know, make the color pop. But so in order to do that, don't paint anything under the yellow, or better yet, paint white and then paint yellow on top, and that actually works really, really, really well. Okay, so we've got a cute little frog going on here. Let's give him some eyes. And it's kind of funny, these, you might think are the ears, these two little dots, but those are actually going to be the frog's eyes. So we're just gonna go make 2 circles here. Oh, this is gonna look so cute. And so once again, these are fun projects you can do with, you know, with kids or with other people, or just kind of as yourself, and you can give them out. I like to make little gifts, little gift baskets and bags and things from time to time. And now that I'm thinking, these would probably be great additions to the little gift things that I put together. I mean, how cute is Froggy Bookmark here? The other fun thing about art too is you can create something for someone with their specific likes in mind, whether it be color or a cartoon or animal or things of that nature. And so something like this, you not only create them a bookmark, but it can have something that they absolutely adore. I mean, if you know anybody who super likes frogs, just as a, you know, decoration or things like that, or actual frogs, you know, you can create them this cute little adorable frog bookmark, and it just means that much more. That you were thoughtful enough to get them anything or think about them, that's fantastic. But when it's something that they like and enjoy, it just makes it even better. So I'm just adding a lot of little tiny designs and details to my frog here. I'm even going to give him 2 little pink dots by his eyes, kind of for his cheeks. And so once again, you can kind of add as much or as little as you want to things like this. And go ahead and look stuff up. There are so many ideas out there, and you can look up cute little frog and see what pops up. And who knows, you might get something like that. Okay, we're almost done here. I think we're going to add some white dot into his eyes a little bit. Let me give that. Yeah, you can totally look things up and kind of see, oh, that's how, you know, other people can create different designs. And you can even look up super simple ways to do things, because you can start with just the simplest of things. You don't have to start with, you know, the super intricate frog. We can start with little hoppers here. So cute at the bottom. Okay, and so I already put just another chapter on this one, and this one I feel like is kind of like for a younger kid. Well, maybe not. I think I would enjoy getting something like this. I want to put words up here. So let me think about that. Let me grab my white marker out here again. It's hard to find the white one. They all have the colors on the tip, but the white one is just white. Alright, so we're going to add just 2 little dots here to my frog in its eyes. There we go. There he is, Mr. Hoppert. Oh, he's so cute. So, I mean, this is super, super simple. Nothing crazy, nothing intricate. Lots of simple designs. I mean, it's got, like, you know, circles and ovals and super easy curves. So, literally anyone can do this. Okay, with Mr. Froggy, I think I'm going to say keep reading on here. So, let's see. Let's design. Let's see. And I am not super great with calligraphy or even anything close. But I enjoy trying. And not necessarily trying to do anything super fancy all the time, as much as just simple and pretty. I mix a lot of cursive and print together in my doodling, and I kind of just experiment and see what I like, and once I kind of find something I like, I just kind of stick with it for a little bit. Once again, we're just kind of doodling, adding more to our project. You can go as crazy or as simple as you like. Okay, oh, it's so cute. So this little bookmark said about keep reading, and of course little hoppers, that's what we named them. They're at the top. Okay, so we've got these 2. Let's do one more together. I've got one more here, and once again I cut this out, these bookmarks, with heavyweight, versatile paper. What does that mean? Go to Hobby Lobby, find an art book. That's what this is. So that's the paper that I've used. So let's go ahead and let's do one more. Let's see here. I'm thinking, I know, let's see. So we're going to use, we use circles as the base of this one. And then of course the background of that one was literally just running with our marker. We're going to do, let's do squares. I'm going to choose 3 colors. Let's see. Kind of sticking with the blues. I got blue on all of them. Let's do blue, kind of that. Let's do the aqua green, and let's get an orange. Okay, so we're going to do 3 squares. And I'm not going to super worry about what they look like. Once again, that's kind of even more of a rectangle than a square. As far as the straightness, the edges, we're not worried about that. We're just painting. Sometimes I usually say that I didn't paint until like 2019, which the end of the year, which is true. That was kind of when I first started. Well, that was when I first started kind of teaching myself how to paint, and I still have so much to learn. But actually, when I was little, I really enjoyed to paint as well. Not that I was good at all whatsoever. But painting was just kind of a fun thing that we got to do from time to time. And my grandmother is a crafter. She is a crafter. She does all kinds of things. And so it was always fun to be able to go to Grandma's house because we knew we could paint. And there are lots of stories when we were really little of getting into paint when maybe we shouldn't have. Or at least without enough supervision, or painting on things that perhaps we shouldn't have been. That's okay, you gotta start somewhere, right? No. So it is kind of interesting that I usually say that I started to paint, recently, but I guess I've kind of always liked to at least doodle with it. And stuff like this, once again, is just so enjoyable to me. There's no pressure. There's no timetable. If I mess it up, it's not really that big of a deal. I could either start over or say, nope, never painting that again. So it's kind of fun to do things like this from time to time. And it's also nice to be able to accomplish a project in such a short amount of time. Sometimes I'm working on something and it's literally hours, as far as all together. And so 4 hours here and 4 hours there and 2 hours here. And I love those projects because that means it's going to be super detailed and super, exciting when I'm finished. And that feeling of being done is absolute excitement, utter amazement. Could I ever paint that again? Also mixed with relief because we got it done. So those are always fantastic. But I'm going to actually add a color for down here. But it's also nice to have the projects that are like this, where they don't really take much time. There isn't really any pressure involved with them. And they're fun. Simple, fun. Use them for yourself, use them for gifts. And now that I'm doing this, I kind of think this would be like a great craft for like my younger siblings. To just kind of sit with them and kind of go with how to make these bookmarks and see the fun things that they come up with, because we've got to be kind of surprised. Some kids just surprise you with how creative they are, and I could have younger siblings more creative than I am. But then also to encourage them to read. Like, all right, go put this in a book and let's get her done, read together and such. Okay, I've got my 4 squares. Can we call these squares? 4 shapes done. And like I said, I wasn't even worried about the shape and all of that good stuff. I am happy with how they are. I'm going to take my black marker. You can take your black marker or pen, my thin one. And let's do some flowers kind of in the midst of these designs. So I'm going to I'm not really super concerned about what these look like. We are just going to draw. And it is kind of interesting when you're working on a project and it turns out fantastic, and then you wonder, could I ever duplicate that? So no real rhyme or reason, just kind of doodling and such. This is a really fun background idea because we didn't have to spend a whole lot of time trying to make like a super detailed background. And we're really not spending that much time making a super detailed flowers that we're doing right now because we're just kind of doing outlines. And yet, in the midst of our simplicity, we're making something that's pretty interesting. That's kind of what I love about some of the more simple designs that I have created, because, like I said, it's great to create that thing that took 40 hours. But it's nice to accomplish little things like this as well. So I'm going from the bottom. I'm doing some of these delicate lines, but then I am also going from the top. I'm just kind of showing the outline of the flower here. So let's go ahead and do another one up here. We're going to go off our bookmark here. So this is also something that you could do with watercolor. And so once again, I use these acrylic markers, and I'm just kind of getting into that because I usually would just paint it myself, like these squares in the background. But there's really no need because I'm not blending in anything. I'm literally just creating these blocks. And I don't mind that they're not super detailed or anything like that. And so these markers are really a neat way to create that, and they're fast and effective as well. But if you want to, when you're practicing and you're learning how to paint, you could paint this with acrylic, actual acrylic paint and a brush, or even watercolor. And watercolor is really pretty if you are trying to go for just the different effects, with kind of when you have a lot of watercolor, when you only have a little, a lot more water. But I'm kind of liking just the markers and this pen here. And this is actually just a Papermate pen. My phone is going blurry again, I'm sorry guys. The pen I'm using, I was going to show it up to the camera, but the camera's a little blurry. I hope you can still hear me when the camera doesn't really connect well. But I'm actually just using a Papermate marker, nothing super duper fancy or anything like that. I haven't even really gotten into learning all of the ins and outs of all the different tools and things that you can use, but this is working really well. So we're just gonna stick with it for this second, and if I learn all the fancy stuff, all the great brands at some point, I may use them, but Papermate's working for now. I attempted to paint a project with my younger brother today, and he had a school project, and he was supposed to paint his hand, two of his hands, kind of that handprint design, and he was supposed to, I believe he was supposed to press his hands down and then kind of like make him a heart in the middle. And so you're supposed to get the washable paint, all over your hands. And he was not interested in that. I mean, not even kind of. He was like, not in a mean way or not in a bad way at all, but he was just like, I don't know, like timid about it and quote unquote scared even. And I was like, it's just paint. And I would have assumed he would be all in for getting messy and getting dirty. But he asked several times if he could just, maybe just dip his finger in it and call that good. So to my dismay, because I was so excited, let's make him, and I said, I'll do it with you, let's do it. Like, I get paint on myself on accident every time I paint. It doesn't matter. I could be painting something so simple. Don't worry, I'm gonna get paint on me. But this time we were painting on purpose and on ourselves. And so, yeah, let's do this. But he was, not interested. And okay, that's okay. You learn things when you're crafting with little kids and kind of what their preferences are. So we're gonna have to find something else. He was not interested in the painting on his hands. So maybe he'll, wanna sketch with me sometime and maybe learn some art that way. This has turned out really nice, and once again, it's simple. I mean, I would venture that just about anybody could do something like this. It doesn't take that much, skill per se or anything like that. It's really just time and going for it. This would be something, you could do with a group of ladies or with some kids, even an art project at school. If kids are making things for Mother's Day or Valentine's Day or Father's Day or anything, you can use this and kind of create. Okay, so I've kind of got the faces of my flowers. I was wondering if I should do stems. I'm not sure if I'm going to ruin it if I do, though. Let's try it, though. So I'm going to imagine kind of a stem here, and then it's like coming out there and coming out there. So we're going to call that stem there. Oh, I'm glad I did. I think I like it. So same here, we're going to imagine our stem coming out this way. And I'm not really trying to worry about straight lines or all that good stuff. Okay. Okay, last one. Maybe we should have his stem coming out the other way. Let's see. Okay, every time I make a different one, I kind of say that's my favorite. Okay, so this is super cute, super fun, super simple. You could totally do this. And so if I had a white thin marker, I would probably go in with some white details. I actually don't have one handy on me, but kind of the same with the black. I would just kind of add some white details here and there. I kind of want to try it with my thick marker, but I'm a little scared that it would be too thick. Let's try real quick. Let's try. Okay, so the idea though is just to add like some white lines. Oh yes, okay. That's what I said. We're experimenting, right? We're seeing what works and what doesn't work. So I felt like this would just kind of make it pop a little bit more in certain areas. These are kind of thicker markers. They're 2mm bullet tips, so they don't work great for everything. But looks like they're working well for this. Okay, that's it. That's all my accents I'm going to do. All right, let's get some of these out of the way and see what we've come up with here. So we created these 3 bookmarks for starters. And so these are super simple. And really, we did these in like 2 minutes each. I mean, this one took a little bit longer because we made him a design. And then I doodled on this one. But all in all, I mean, these are really quick designs. And so we did a simple one there. Pattern. Nothing super duper fancy. Just one more chapter. I'll kind of love the little doodles and things on this one. We did white background, so that would be on the inside. And then this little guy, little fox, we created, kind of added his ears and such. All right, and then we have these 3 bookmarkers here. Super, super simple, super easy. Of course, our circle design, and we just added some things to it. I love this one. This one might be my favorite. Oh, but of course my phone starts acting funny again. We'll wait and see if it connects. Yay, connected. We're almost done. Okay, this one has to be a favorite of mine. It's so cute. Little hopper. And these are super, super simple. I didn't like go crazy detailed with him. So you can do something like that too. And then of course our last one here with just our blocks in the background and our designs on front. Okay, before we sign off here though, we've got to grab a book and see how these work, especially these ones here. So I've got a book with me here. So let's go ahead and get these out the way. Open it. And so how these corner pieces ones work here is you can take it and you put a few or several pages in there, and then they literally slide onto the corner. And so you can have several of these in a book. In fact, I could just turn and put another one to mark certain pages, especially if you're using them for school books or things like that. So you can have several of those in the book, keeping your spot, or just one or two. So those are how the corner ones work. But actually this little guy is going to go on the bottom, because you see how I did him quote unquote upside down? The reason being, I could have done him this way, but then his ears would have stuck out of the book, like if I had him this way, and they might have fallen off. So if we flip him upside down and we put him down here. Oh, see, my glue's a little funny on that one. His ears are going to close in the book. So I hope that kind of makes a little bit of sense, what I mean by that, instead of them kind of sticking out here. But okay, so we've got a little corner bookmarks. I love these. These are so cute, especially this little fox guy. And so these here, and I mean, just so simple. Oh no, my phone stopped working. You know what? Let's change cameras for the end of this video. Let's go ahead and change to our trusty faithful camera over here. Okay, so I love these little corner ones. They just slide onto the corner of your book. Super simple and easy to make. And then of course we have our regular bookmarks that we made. And they of course can just go inside of your book, stick out wonderfully, stick out however you like to keep your page. And so these are super simple DIYs. Thanks for sticking with me and learning how to do these. I'm super excited to make these myself. It's about time I got more into this. It's been a minute since I've painted some bookmarks and things, and so I kind of enjoyed doing that. And so I hope you take the time to maybe learn how to do this and DIY or DIY with others, because that's a thing. All right, thanks so much for stopping by, and I hope maybe to see you soon on another tutorial. Bye.